to Cultivating Harmony, where I discuss Chinese medicine as well as Taoist topics. We in the West have a good understanding of what it means to be sick, unwell, or ill, with 70% of Americans taking at least one prescription drug and 52% of Americans diagnosed with at least one chronic condition. But what does it mean to be healthy? So with a million different health, diet, lifestyle programs and fads throughout the ages, have we really figured out exactly what health is? Or have we only become more lost and confused? And I think maybe sometimes we are asking ourselves the wrong question. And maybe we should have a perspective change and ask ourselves what is considered human and what is considered a healthy human. And I want to point out the fact that I'm using the term human for the sake of discussion. However, this isn't actually the most accurate or optimal choice, as it is a legal jargon for a word that has other meaning. But for today's intensive purposes, I may use this more interchangeably with the more accurate terms of man or woman. So what does it mean to be human? With times and technology rapidly changing, we can see that this question becomes more and more difficult to answer, as well as increasingly disturbing and even controversial sometimes to debate. And I actually find this to be one of the most critical questions we should reflect on, not only when we're discussing our individual lifestyles, but really our society at large. Now, with Chinese medicine, I've been able to somewhat navigate these more murky waters with some clarity. The intent of Chinese medicine and its treatments are to bring us back to being more human, or to help return us to our humanity. So, for the sake of conversation and contemplation, I will throw out some maybe more controversial questions. And it's not that I'm making a judgment upon these things, but sometimes when we ask a question in a more polarizing way, we're able to really understand it better or gain some more clarity into what it's actually asking. And a good example of this was I was recently overhearing a group of young 20-year-olds discussing the kind of desire, if you will, for getting total knee replacements, LASIK surgery, things like this. And they were expressing their dismay that they were told they needed to wait a few more years until they were able to get these types of procedures. And I understand that a lot of times the motivator for these things are being in pain, or even the lack of function, which can be very frustrating and difficult to live with. But for today's video, I want to ask ourselves, if the treatment is not making us more human, is it actually then a good treatment? And for the sake of the modern times that we live in, at what point, how many bionic parts or foreign pieces can be added to us, and how many human pieces, right, organs, limbs, things like this, can be taken away until we're no longer considered human? 50%, 60%, 20%? What is that number? And I know this may sound a little sci-fi, but we're really headed towards these types of times that these questions are going to become more and more imperative. And if you haven't already, I will go ahead and link my period 9 video, which goes into the increasing uses of AI in the next 20-year cycle. And now, we should keep in mind that even things as small as dental implants, right, is actually bringing us further from being human, because we are implanting something else inside of us, and even if it's just something as small as a tooth. Again, I'm not placing judgment, but we're starting to move into lab-created organs, brains, eyes, hearts, and eventually leading towards some type of computer brain being inserted into our consciousness or mental abilities. So that makes me ask the question, is the only requirement for being human appearance? Because it's seeming more and more this way, and it's going to be something that we should really consider. The AI robots and things like this are becoming more and more human-like, and it's going to be difficult to tell us apart. And we're really opening the floodgates on this one. And the artificial superhuman abilities or body, mind, may not be all cracked up to what it's being told to us. And it's certainly not the goal of Chinese medicine, which encourages a deeper and more profound, I would say, understanding and cultivation of our natural superhuman abilities. And not only is the legal definition of human actually color of man, right? Hue of man. This is why we get the color of law. It's not an actual man or woman. Not only does it seem that modern mainstream culture is rapidly and very openly accepting, but also very excited about these new technologies, it actually seems that it, in equal parts, actually fears death. And it may not be so apparent or overt to some, but I think that it at least demonstrates silently an incredible fear of death. We fear death to the point that when someone gets sick with diseases, when we're told we only have a year or months to live, we will do anything to escape death, including ripping out vital organs, taking, chunks of our body, our muscles, our skin, our limbs off and out. And while it may seem like a natural survival instinct, right, to, of course, fear death and want to survive, shouldn't we focus on why we are ill to begin with? Putting efforts into changing our lifestyles to bring us back to the state of well-being and health, which is actually the body's natural inclination to heal itself, but also by undergoing destructive treatments. Again, are these good treatments? If we are losing parts of us that make us human. And in Chinese medicine, they understand that the more you kind of rely on these external, I would say like more modern medicine, medical treatments, your body loses, it doesn't completely lose, but it weakens the body's natural intelligence of self-healing. And a quote that has always stuck for me from a mentor in high school said that there are no solutions, only trade-offs. And it's something that has always stuck with me. So while people may be told or convinced that something is free, or even that a specific treatment is good, it's the number one treatment for a certain ailment, are these solutions or limited fixes that actually carry larger or more long-term repercussions and trade-offs? Spiritually, we should wonder. If we are giving up part of ourselves physically, what are we giving up of ourselves spiritually, right? In Chinese medicine, we know that parts of the body are related to emotions, they're related to seasons, they're related to a lot of other things. So when we lose part of our body, what spiritual aspects are we exchanging for it? And even if you don't necessarily believe in spiritual aspects, we know almost every treatment in modern medicine has some type of side effect. And if those side effects are going to need further treatments to just treat the side effects, is this really a good treatment? How effective is it at actually solving the original problem? And I'm not asking these questions as a judgment on people who decide to go in that route. Can modern science tell us exactly what implications these procedures and treatments have on our spirit, our soul, our energy? However you want to frame this question in your mind. And not only can it answer this question, but do you even think it even asks this question to begin with before offering it to the public? Or is it possible that it actually evades these questions? And we're led by modern mainstream science, again, to believe that once we die, we just rot in the ground, and that's it. And this is pushed further into the mainstream's subconsciousness by things like YOLO, right? You only live once. Now, does this type of belief actually increase our fear of death? Going back to what we were talking about earlier. If we believe that this life right now is really all that there is and all we'll ever have, why would we not want to live it up? Which in this mindset is often people who are doing things that destroy the body, that are harmful to the body. They're pleasure seeking. Also at the same time, fear dying, because then all the fun's over. If this is all we have, then once we die, everything fun is over. And if we believe these types of things and we don't feel like we're ready to go and we're being told that we only have so much time, wouldn't we be more susceptible to the peer pressure of extreme treatments and push for artificial abilities or procedures? But now it seems like even worse, we're past the point of pressure to the next generation of acceptance of normality. But when we remove parts of us, we are fearful of death, hoping for just a little bit more time. What is the quality of this time we'll gain in exchange for these things? Do we lose part of our humanity or our spirit in exchange for a few more months? And if we cultivated a culture with a deeper understanding of our place in the universe, its workings, well-being, and death, how would we define health and a healthy man or woman?